One of my favorite guided edits allows you to create a reflection effect, and it can be a lot of fun for a variety of different photos. I'm already in the guided edit mode, and so I'll scroll down to the very bottom of the right panel where you'll find the reflection guided edit in the photo play section. And that seems very appropriate because adding a reflection certainly is not the most realistic effect, but it's a lot of fun and it can produce some very cool images. Let's take a look. I'll go ahead and click the reflection button. That will take me into the guided edit for reflection. I'll start off by adding a reflection. That's the first step. So I'll simply click the Add Reflection button, and you'll see that the image is adjusted so that I have a copy of my image that has been flipped vertically and placed below the actual image, and the overall image has been resized accordingly. The next step is to use the eyedropper tool to select a color from your photo to use as a background for the reflection. And this generally should be a color that suits the overall image. Very often I'll use a blue from the sky, for example. In this case, though, the photograph was captured at night, but I'm still going to use a portion of the sky. I'll go ahead and click the eyedropper tool button and then move my mouse out over the photo, and I'm going to sample an area of the sky down low so that we get some of the glow. You can see it appears just a little bit sort of reddish in that area because of all the light of the city that is illuminating the sky a little bit. So I'll click on that area of the photo, and then I'll go to the third step, which is to fill the background, and that's going to fill the background with the color that I just sampled. I'll go ahead and click the Fill Background button, and you'll see I now have a more opaque version of the image, and that's because there is a background color behind it, and you can probably just make out that slightly reddish tone from the sky. I'll go ahead and scroll down on the right panel, and then step 4 is to choose the effect that will make the reflection a little bit more realistic. I can choose floor or glass if I want to create the effect of an object that was sitting on a shiny floor or a glass surface, or if I want to create the effect of water in the foreground, I can choose the water option. Now, of course, it's not the most realistic effect here, but this is a photograph of the Eiffel Tower with the bridge over the Seine, and so adding a water reflection does make a certain amount of sense, even if it's not a photo you could have actually accomplished under these circumstances. I'll go ahead and click the water button though, and that will bring up two individual filters. We'll start off with the ripple filter, and you can see that that adds a bit of a rippling effect like water. I'll change the size to large, and I'll increase the amount so we get a little bit more dramatic effect, and then I'll click the OK button. Next, we'll see another dialog appear for a motion blur, and that allows us to get a little bit of a blurry effect for that water reflection, so we don't have a purely crisp effect. And I can adjust the angle of that blur if I'd like. I think I'll just have the blur going sort of left to right, and I can also adjust the distance for that blur. I think I'll keep it rather small though, so that we have a more dramatic effect from that ripple filter. That looks to be okay. I'll go ahead and click OK in order to apply that effect. And if I zoom in on the photo, you can now see that we have quite a ripple effect in the foreground. So we definitely get the impression that this is a reflection on water. The next step is to adjust the reflection intensity. We can move the slider to the right to increase the intensity or to the left to reduce the intensity, in effect determining how visible, how obvious will that reflection be. Are you looking for something very subtle or very dramatic? In this case, I think I'll go somewhere in between so that it is an obvious reflection as opposed to simply a flipping of the original, but bear in mind that we will be toning things down a little bit more with a final effect using the gradient tool. So I'll add just a little bit more intensity here. Right about there seems to be pretty good, I think. Next, we'll add some distortion if we like, and this can help to make the reflection look a little bit more realistic by making that reflected object a little bit shorter than the original object in the photo. I'll go ahead and click that button, and you can see that the Eiffel Tower reflection has been shortened just a little bit. Next, I'll click on the crop tool button and I can crop the image. By adding distortion, you might be able to see that part of the underlying background color that we filled is now visible. And that obviously should not be included in the photo. And so with the crop tool selected, I'll click from the top left corner down to the bottom right of the photo, making sure that that boundary between the distorted edge of the photo, the reflected photo, and the background fill is included outside of the crop box. That looks to be good. I'll go ahead and click the commit button to apply that crop. And then the final step of our guided edit is to apply a gradient. I'll go ahead and click on the gradient tool button, and then I will click and drag from the bottom of the reflection up to the bottom of the original photo. I can also hold the shift key while dragging in order to make sure that that gradient line is constrained to a perfectly vertical line in this case. I'll then release the mouse to draw that gradient, and you can see that that really tones down the reflection itself, making it look more like a reflection rather than just a copy of the Eiffel Tower. And that completes our reflection effect for this photo. You can see quite a cool effect and a lot of fun to apply. I'll go ahead and click the Done button, and then of course I can share this image with others.